Hello, awesome people. I hope you are having an absolutely amazing day today. One of the best you've ever had. So what I wanted to do today is I wanted to rank all 16 Clan OmniMechs from the 30, 50 technical readout, and so forth. Now, I typically would fight against clans in the clan invasion era, and so forth. I didn't typically would fight, and sometimes if I captured it or salvoed it and then used it in battle later on, I wouldn't have the equipment to upgrade, so I would just have whatever version I captured to capture. So, for example, if I captured, like a version like an A or a B or a C or the main variant, I didn't typically have the resources to re-equip it and that sort of a thing. So my experiences aren't as strong as somebody who heavily played the clans in Clan OmniMechs. And OmniMechs are a little harder to rank because they're designed to be flexible, right? And so it's harder to rank them. So I'm going to be ranking them based on their pod space, their speed, and their armor. Some will sacrifice, and ideally one is good combinations of those three. Some will sacrifice for pod space or armor or both. For speed, I prefer something, a good mix of all three, and so forth. Now, again, because these are designed to be such flexible things, it's a little harder for me to rank them and so forth. So none of these are bad choices. Even the ones from number 16 on, all the way up to number 1, there really aren't any bad choices. Now, I got my notes here on my cell phone in 22-point font over 3 pages, and so I'm going to be squinting down and such because I got my notes with it too, and my reasons for why they are at that space. So just as a heads up, if you see me looking down and not giving you the eye contact that you deserve, that's the reason why. But let's go ahead and get started. All right, so my number 16 is the Man of War. This is the 80-ton assault mech. That's got a 5'8" movement with 22.75 pod space tons. It's got 1632 heat sinks, which is fine for its initial dispersion, but it's only got 11 tons of armor. I just think that it's not enough armor and pad space. I think it's sacrificing. It's got the wrong size engine in an 80-ton mech and so forth. So because it just doesn't have the pod space, it doesn't have the armor that I would like from an assault mech. So I just don't really think that the Man of War works. Oh, and I'm using the Inner Sphere names for these. Sorry, clan name enthusiasts, but that's what I grew up on with technical readouts and so forth. So we're gonna be using those names. It's just a heads up. So that's the Man of War number 16. Number 15 is the Gladiator. This is also an assault mech. This is the 95-ton mech and so forth. It's 464 movement with jump jets, good stuff. This is the one with mask, so it can move double its movement in walking speed. So it's 648, if you will. It's good solid heat dispersion of 1632. However, it's got lighter armor with only 13.5 tons of ferrofib, which is in pod space of 26.25 tons. So it's a faster mech with that mask and the jump jets and so forth. But it wants to close, but this doesn't have the armor for its role, if you will, because of its speed. Right, it just wants to close, but then it just doesn't have the armor for it and such. That's the reason why it's back here at the 15th spot. All right, so number 14 is the Loki. This is a heavy mech at 65 tons long, 5'8" movement. It's got 1326 double heat sinks for your folks, 28.75 tons of pod space. For your folks in movement's great, but it only has, and I am not making this up, 8 tons of armor. 8 tons of armor for a heavy mech, especially a 65-ton mech is a joke. This could have a lot more than 8 tons and so forth. So I feel like it's a joke on a 65-ton mech. 8 tons of armor is about what you would expect for a 40-ton mech. 25 tons lighter than that. Although if you put some ferrofib, you could probably take another ton off of that. And so for 7-ton ferrofib would be fine. And so forth, it just doesn't have the armor to hold up with other mechs. And that's the Loki. Number 14. Number 13 is the Thor. For your folks, unlucky number 13 if you will. It's another heavy 75 tons. It's got strong movement. It's 585. A little of the jump jets on the heavier mech and such great stuff. It's 28 heat is fine. I would prefer a little baser speed with that jump jet, so that's fine. You can add more if you need to. It's got 9.5 tons of armor. and 22.75 tons of pod space for you folks, which is fine. But the jump jets are great. I like it a lot because it gives you lots of maneuverability. But that armor, it doesn't even have great pod space, right? Like the previous one. So I like the jump jets here. I love the maneuverability, but I just don't like that what it's sacrificing for that. That's what's the number 13 spot. That's the 4. Number 12 is the Dirty Dozen, is the Fenris. For folks, this is a medium mech at 45 tons, 812 movement, nice. And 9.75 tons of pod space and 1224 heat sinks for you folks, which is fine, and 7.5 tons of armor, which is not that bad. You can have it. The armor is okay compared to other clan mechs. That armor is downright adequate, and so forth. But I feel like it's sacrificing too much, and for the movement, not enough for the weapons. With only 7.5 tons of pod. I'm sorry, 9.75 tons of pod space, and 7.5 tons of armor. Still not the best on a 45 ton mech. It's fine. I just feel like it's sacrificing too much of that space for armors and for that speed. All right, so that's number 12, the Fenris. Number 11 is the Vulture for you folks. This is a 60 ton. It's the lightest of the heavies. It's a 28 tons of pod space. That's a great amount of pod space for you folks. And 1224 heat sinks. Love that lots. It's a good amount to start with. I would prefer a little more base, but it's fine. You can add it if you have it. And so forth. The 5.8 movement is also great too, but 8.5 tons feels light for that commitment. Although it's got tons of pod space. Yeah, but I think you could probably pull 3 or 4 tons of that pod space, add it to its armor, and make it a much better mech. And it would be much higher hitting. 28 tons. You can move that 25, 24 tons of pod space would still be great with 4 more tons of ammo. 4 more tons of armor. That would have been awesome. And so, all right, now top 10. Number 10 is the Dasher. Now, your mouth let me vary because this is the fastest mech in the game at 10:15 for a 20-ton mech, light mech. It's got mask too, so it's actually can move 20. Nothing moves 20. It's massively fast, and so forth. It's got great speed, and so with the mask, but just 2 tons of armor, so it's hoping that it doesn't get hit, and so forth. It doesn't have any extra double heat sinks, and 6 3/4 pods space. I feel like it's trying to push the speed, and just hope it doesn't get hit because it's a glass cannon, right? I think if you took 1 ton of that pod space away and give it, 5 and 7. That would have been fine. 3 tons of armor I would prefer for on a 20-ton mech, but still, it's at least it would have been feasible to get hit and still stay standing, and so forth with that armor. It's a little bit light, if you will, for my tastes. Number 9 is the Mad Cat. This is the 75-ton heavy mech. It's the heaviest of the heavy mechs. It also, like the Vulture, a couple of slots above it, also has 28 tons pod space for 15 tons of more armor, and so forth. I'm sorry, 15 tons more of weight for you folks, but it's got 5.8 movement just like it does, and so forth, and 12 tons of armor instead. 12 tons of armor versus 8.5 tons of armor. That's why the Mad Cat's sitting a couple slots over, because its armor is much better. Now 12.5 tons for a 75-ton mech still isn't great, but it's better. It can have up to 15 tons, right? But it's more feasible, if you will, for those reasons, and so forth. And that's the reason why it's hitting a couple of slots higher than the Vulture. But that's the Mad Cat at number 9. Number 8 is the Koshi. And we are now halfway through 16 ranks and so forth. And number 8 is the Koshi. This is a 25-ton light mech. I think its armor is okay at 3.5 tons. That's fine. I would prefer another half a ton or 2. Maybe a full ton of 4.5 tons on a 25-ton mech. But it's not great. It's 7.11. Speed is 6 is a little weird. 7.11 is fine, but the 6 head jump is going to feel like it should want another jump in there, and so forth. It's fast. It's got good step, and so forth. But the sacrifices its armor and so forth. But its pod space is 8 3/4. That's not that bad for the Koshi. I'd prefer, because it has jump jets, it to add a little more heat sinks, right, and so forth, because you will definitely be looking at that, and so forth. So I feel like the pod space isn't the best nor the armor, but it's good speed and it's and space, but the armor can be improved and so forth. So that's number 8, the Koshi. Number 7 is the Masakari. This is another of the assault mechs. This is an 85 tonner. It's got 4-6 movement. 13.5 tons of ferrofib armor is fine. Again, you would probably want a little bit more for an 85 ton mech. You can have up to 17 tons and so forth. But it feels a little light, which is why it's sitting back here at the 7th spot. But 2040 heat, it's got a targeting computer. It can disperse a whole lot of that heat and so forth. Early on, it's got 32.5 tons of pod space with great sinks and so forth. So the only reason why it's sitting back here is that armor. And that's the number 7, the Masakari. Number 6, back to lights, is the 30-ton Uller, a 6-9 movement, just 4 tons of armor, but you know, for this gets for just a little. I mean, you probably want like another ton for a 60-ton mech. A 60-ton mech with ferrofib 5 would be better. I'd like to get 6, but 5 would be at least better. And so forth. But 6-9 movements fine on the Uller. Good pod space at 16 tons of armor. Love it lots. And 1020 heat sinks. I think it could drop 2 tons. 2 pods for armor because it's got so much tons of pods and so forth, but since that's a little on the lower side, that's why it's heading back here out of my top 5 proper at number 6. But the Elder's still fine. It's got, you know, 69 means perfectly fine for a scouty light mech. You don't need to be the dashers. All right, now the top 5. Number 5 is also a scouty mech. This is the 40-ton, the lightest medium-ton dragonfly with 8 movement. That's spider level stuff. That's huge. Great stuff. It's hugely awesome. It's got 7 tons of armor, which is strong for a 40-ton mech. It's at 8 7/4 pod space, which is pretty good too. So I like that. It only has a base heat sinks of 10. 20. So it's a little light on the heat sinks for an 8 jumping mech. It's going to be making a lot of heat if you're jumping. Right. I like what the Dragonfly's trying to do. It's got some good stuff. It's pod space of 8 3/4 is fine for a scouty mech and so forth. It's got the good bones. So that's the number 5, the Dragonfly. The number 4 is the Ryokan. The Ryokan is a medium ton mech, 55 tons with 6-9 movement. It's got 1020 heat sinks, 23 tons of pod space, which is a ton of pod space, and so for medium mech in an actual proper amount of armor at 10 tons. 10 tons on a 55-ton mech is 1 ton less than you could max, and with Pharaoh, you know, you'll be fine. That's actually a real amount of armor, great amounts of things. Its speed is fine for a medium mech that wants to go do some stuff. I like the Ryokan. I think it's good. It's a great design mech. And so forth. Now, number 3 is another medium mech. This is the 50-ton, 5 tons lighter. Blackhawk, Flurry Fox. It's got 10 tons of armor, which is the max. I love that, 585. It's got the same amount of armor as the Ryokan, even though it's lighter. Love that. It's got 585 movement, so it's a little scouty with those jump jets. Love that. And it's got base heat is 14 and 28 better than some of the other jumpers, like the Dragonflies, heat sinks, so forth. Love that too. And then it's got 16.25 tons of pod space. Love that amount of pod space on it too. It's fine for the scout or what it wants to do. The Blackhawk. Love it lots. That's number 3 for you folks. Now the top 2. Number 2 is the Puma. The Puma is a light mech. It's the heaviest light mech at 35 tons. It's 6'9". It's got 6 tons of armor. Great. Love that lots. A 1020 heat sinks, which is fun. 16.25 pods. A ton space. That's a huge amount. It doesn't sacrifice pod space for the movement. Again, we've talked 6'9" is perfectly fine on a scouty mech. Just trying to do the good stuff. So it doesn't sacrifice that pod space for movement. And it's a light armor. And it's got good armor too. So I think that the Puma, the Blackhawk, and the Ryokan and the Dragonfly are all great scouty or good solid closers in the Ryokan, but none of them, in my opinion, hold a candle to the number 1, and that is, of course, if you've been counting, the Daiichi, the 100-ton mech. It's the heaviest assault mech. It's got max armor at 19 tons. It's great stuff. It's got 3.5 movement. It's got the huge amount of pod space with the most pod space for weapons. 13 and 50 heat sinks. I love that lots. and so forth. It's a lover. It's a closer. It has the armor to close. It can slug it with the greatest of mechs. It's got the weapons that you can choose. It's got huge amounts of pod space, and so forth. It's got pod spaces that are bigger than the mechs. That's how much pod space it has. It's an absolute class victim of mine, and that's the Daiichi for you folks. And so let's go over my top 16 all ranked, and so forth for you again. The number 16 is the Man of War. The number 15 is the Gladiator. The number 14 is the Loki. The number 13 is the Thor. The number 12 is the Fenris. The number 11 is the Vulture. The number 10 is the Dasher. The number 9 is the Mad Cat. The number 8 is the Koshi. The number 7 is the Masakari. The number 6 is the Uller. The number 5 is the Dragonfly. The number 4 is the Ryokan. The number 3 is the Black Hawk. The number 2 is the Puma. And then the number 1 is the Daiichi. For you folks. And so those are my ranking all 16 OmniMechs from the original Clan Invasion era from TRO 3050 for you folks. All right, so there you are. Again, it's just my takes and so forth. It's hard to rank these. There aren't really any bad ones because of the flexibility of an OmniMech design, right, and so forth. But what are yours? You know, and I'm really not, you know, again, I'm not somebody who heavily plays these, although if I capture them or something, I will, but I typically play against them. It's just that can be in this era. The Clan Invasion. There you are. What did you think about them? Do you agree or disagree with them? Have you used those? Do you have any epic moments you want to share? Do you want to tell me what your top 10s are? Or I'm sorry, top 16 ranks would be. Do you agree or disagree with mine? Do you think I got them in the wrong order or the right order? Do you agree with my Daiichi at the top? Do you also agree with my top? With my last twos being Assault Mechs 2, let me know your thoughts in the comments below because your opinion's just as valid as mine is, right? We all are fans of the same game, right? And so everybody's opinion is equally valid, you know. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear them and so forth. If you like this video, why not hit the like button? And then the subscribe button. I try to do some BattleTech stuff pretty regularly and so forth. I've recently done rankings of my favorite videos. I've actually reviewed like more than 10 novels recently. I've gone back and reread and so forth. I'm playing MegaMek right now and so forth in a dynasty online and so forth. And I've probably put like hundreds of hours into in this dynasty. It's only 4 pages long. The last, you know, maybe 10 days or something like that, or 2 weeks. It's love it lots. And so, you know, so it's definitely on my mind. Great stuff, love it lots. So there you are. So if you like this video, again, let your friends know so that they can hit the subscribe button, the bell icon if you're feeling frisky. The name of my channel, as a reminder, is The Worst Thing About New Books. That's a quote by a French philosopher named Jacques Joubert. In the 19th century, in his book, he said that the worst thing about them was that they kept us from reading the old ones. And this is definitely an older game. It's an older, right, I'm talking about a book from a game, but you get the idea. And I try to do reviews of video games. I got a serial Saturday and so forth where I do older stuff. I try into horror, science fiction, and fantasy are the 3 genres. So that, again, if that sounds fun to you, and I try to do 3 reviews a week, as well as like some video game stuff and that sort of a thing. Now, please check us out. Again, I love it. Love to hear your thoughts and so forth. And then I want to thank you so very, very much for taking some time out of your day and investing it and watching, you know, my videos, because we all have so many things, right, that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spent this time with me, that's incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it so very, very much. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.